Duncan's grumpy day. It was a beautiful day on the island of Sodor. The little narrow gauge engines were working hard. All the little engines want to be useful. One morning, Duncan was feeling grumpy, so he puffed into the station to pick up some dairy. When the workmen were loading the dairy, Duncan was grumpy. "Hurry up," said Duncan grumpily. "I'm in a big hurry. I don't have all day." Duncan was so impatient that he chose to move forward. "Stop! You're not unloaded!" cried the workman. Duncan stopped. "Ugh," groaned Duncan. Then Duncan reversed back. "Ugh, how long will this loading and unloading take?" said Duncan. At last, the load was ready, and then Duncan puffed crossly away. Duncan was feeling grumpy all along the countryside. Then Duncan stopped at a signal. Sir Handel was there. "Good morning, Duncan," said Sir Handel. "How are you today?" "Good morning. What's so good about it? And what do you mean how I am? I'm very grumpy because all I have to do is wait. I just want to get this load done and on time," said Duncan crossly. "Maybe you should have some patience," laughed Sir Handel. "Pooh, why do I need patience?" said Duncan. "I just want to get this load done with." Sir Handel's signal changed to green, and then Sir Handel puffed away. "Ugh, how long will the signal take to turn green?" said Duncan crossly. At last, Duncan's signal changed to green, and then he puffed crossly away. Duncan was reaching another junction. Then he had to stop at a signal. "Ugh, of course I have to stop at the signal," said Duncan crossly. Then Duncan chose to disregard the signal and puffed crossly away. Then there was trouble. Reneus was coming on the same track as Duncan. "Look out, Duncan!" cried Reneus. "Fret my funnel, we're going to crash," said Duncan. Then they both screeched to a stop, just in front of each other. "Move out of my way," said Reneus crossly. "I have an important job to do. I have to take these passengers." "Well, I have an important job to do too," said Duncan. "I have to take this dairy train to the factory." "Well, maybe you should learn some patience," said Reneus crossly, "because the reason why we almost crashed is because you disregarded the red signal, so I suggest you to move." "Puh, maybe you should move out of my way first," said Duncan crossly. "Well, Duncan, since you're refusing to move, I'll make you move," and then Reneus pushed Duncan out of the way. Reneus pushed Duncan back to the junction, and then Reneus switched tracks. Duncan was very cross. "So now you pushed me? You're going to pay big time," said Duncan crossly. Then Duncan disregarded the red signal again, and he puffed on. Then there was trouble. Skarloey was coming on the same track as Duncan. "Look out, Duncan!" cried Skarloey. "Flit my funnel, I'm going to crash again," said Duncan. The two engines braked right in front of each other. They came to a grinding halt. "Out of my way, Duncan," said Skarloey. "I'm on my way to do an important job." "Well, I have a very important job too," said Duncan crossly. "I have to take this dairy train to the factory. And if you refuse to move, I will make you move." So Duncan pushed Skarloey out of the way. Then there was trouble. Duncan pushed Skarloey right into Sir Handel. "Oh dear, sorry, Sir Handel," said Skarloey. Duncan groaned. "Ugh, now I have two engines in my way. Come on, I have a very important job to do. Sir Handel was cross. Come on, Duncan, I told you earlier you need to learn some patience, said Sir Handel crossly. Now we're both going to be late because of you. Duncan backed up and he moved out of Skarloey and Sir Handel's way. And then Skarloey and Sir Handel puffed on. At last, Duncan puffed on to the right track. And then Skarloey and Sir Handel puffed on to the next track. Once Duncan's signal was green, he puffed on, then the signal became red again. Ugh, of course the signal's red. Why do I have to miss my green signal? Then Peter Sam puffed up. He puffed up to the junction. Hello, Duncan, said Peter Sam. How are you? You see how I am? I missed my green signal because I'm in a hurry. And all because I disregarded the red signal. That's what happens when you're impatient, said Peter Sam, and he puffed away. Duncan's signal then changed to green, and then he puffed on. Then Duncan had to stop at another junction. Oh, of course, this red signal again. I just need to get my job over with, said Duncan crossly. Then Rusty puffed up. Hello, Duncan, said Rusty. I see you're having a grumpy day. Of course I'm having a grumpy day because I want to get my job over with. I'm tired of stopping at signals and waiting. I'm in a hurry. Rusty saw Duncan was grumpy. Maybe you're grumpy because you don't have a friend to work with, so I can be your back engine, said Rusty. This made Duncan smile. Thank you, Rusty. I would very much appreciate it. So then Duncan puffed on, and then Rusty was coupled up to the back of Duncan's train, and then they both puffed on. Now Duncan was feeling happy because he was working with a friend. When Duncan had to stop at a crossing because the gates were malfunctioning, him and Rusty had a nice talk. Duncan loved to tell Rusty about the stories when they first met. At last the gates were fixed, and then the two friends puffed on. At last, Duncan and Rusty arrived at the dairy factory. Thank you for your help, Rusty. I really much appreciate it. Anytime, Duncan, said Rusty happily. Then, Duncan and Rusty were puffing along, and then they saw Sir Handel, Skarloey, and Renee at a junction. I'm sorry I was rude to you guys earlier. I was just having a grumpy day, said Duncan. But my friend Rusty turned my grumpy day into a happy day. I'm glad to hear that, said Skarloey. And we all forgive you, Duncan, said Sir Handel. Yes, agreed Renee, and I'm sorry I pushed you out of the way, Duncan. We're all grumpy sometimes, but we're all still really useful. And all the engines laughed.